I'm just sad. The Kings, they've done it. They've beaten me. I give up. I don't know. I think that it takes a lot to to really get me to feel this bad about a team, but they've done it, and I'm just sad. 8-9 on the season, 4-5 at home, and you lose to the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, it was just sad. You even go up by four in the fourth quarter. You had a lead in the fourth quarter, and then the Nets go on an immediate 9-0 run. And then, obviously the first half was the same old horrible first half, but the end of the fourth quarter was also sad. When we had that 5-on-4 with Cam Thomas down and nobody attacks, everyone just stood there and waited to be fouled instead of attacking in transition when you're down 7 points. You're down 7 points with 3 minutes to go, and you don't attack. I mean, it just felt like there was no will. And then the exact same thing happens with like 40 or 50 seconds to go, where the Kings are down four. And then, or no, sorry, it was 28 seconds to go. It was right at the end. And they get the ball to DeMar, and he's just kind of like walking the ball up the court, trying to get it up the court past his man when he has De'Aaron Fox right across the court from him. The fastest player in the entire league. When you need a quick bucket, he has 31 points. He's just sitting there. He's waiting. He's ready to just go all the way to the basket in half a second. Instead, we walk the ball up the court. It gets swung over to Kevin Huerter, and it's Kevin Huerter that has to be the one to drive, and it ends in a Sabonis push shot, which is just a bad shot. Oh, and actually, the one that I was talking with like 40 or 50 seconds to go, that was a different one. Well, actually, that was right after the 5-on-4 because the Kings get fouled intentionally on that 5-on-4. And that's when they're down seven with a couple minutes. And what happens on that possession? Again, it goes to Kevin Huerter. Everyone stands around, and it's Kevin Huerter trying to create something. We are down seven. Like, you can't waste a possession. And in two of the biggest moments of the game, it's Kevin Huerter creating something in isolation. How does that happen? With Fox and DeRozan on the court, and it's Kevin Huerter. What can I say? I mean, I'm just, yeah, like I said, I'm just sad. Allowing the Brooklyn Nets to come in and shoot 48.7% from three. The Kings missed 11 free throws in this game, shooting 64.5% from the line. It's kind of wild because they went 9 for 25 from three. Sure, that's only 36%. But earlier in the season, if the Kings shoot 36% at any point, they win the game easily. And now that they're shooting the three at least kind of well, now the free throws are gone. Now everything else is gone. It's just like what happened? Early in this season, the Kings looked really good. They looked great. There were some unlucky things that went against them. They couldn't hit wide open threes. Other teams, bad 3-point shooters, were shooting the lights out. Like, there were unlucky things happening. And so it was like, okay, Kings are only a few games above 500. They probably should be more, but it's okay because things have looked good. But ever since the injuries, even with Sabonis and DeMar coming back these last two games, the Kings just look awful. It's so weird how this team is not able to put like even okay 3-point shooting together with even okay free throw shooting or okay anything else. It's just like it's one or the other every single time. And being 4-5 at home. Did you hear the crowd in that third quarter to start the fourth quarter? They were up four. Kevin Huerter has that chance in the corner. The crowd is going insane. If Kevin Huerter knocks down that three, the roof is going to be blown off Golden One Center. And you're 4-5 at home. Other teams, they don't get that at home during the regular season. And yet here we are at 4-5 at home. Our losses at home to Minnesota, to the Clippers, to Minnesota again, to Atlanta, and to Brooklyn. Sure, we were beat up in that Atlanta game, but let's just Atlanta, Brooklyn, LA Clippers, and Minnesota twice. Almost lost to Utah too. Like, why is this team not able to get it going at home? at all. And they haven't been for the last 2 seasons. This season, last season, and the season before. And the reason it's so weird is because if you were just someone who had never watched sports before, you would be like, oh, that just means the crowd doesn't really make a difference on the game. But if you've watched sports, you know, like the San Antonio Spurs in the 2016-17 season or 2015-16 season went 40-1 at home. Like that doesn't happen by accident. And if you look at the percentages, home teams, they just win more. Why can't the Kings win at home against bad teams nonetheless? I mean, this was a Nets team. They didn't even have Dorian Finney-Smith or Dennis Schroeder. We got a gift. Dennis Schroeder was out. He was probable to play, and he didn't play. They were playing Ben Simmons at point guard, and we lost. If we don't kidnap Dorian Finney-Smith or Cam Johnson and keep them here in Sacramento, then this season is not gonna get any better. Do not let either of those guys on that plane out. We need at least one of them, please. The Kings started this game just with no energy. Not only was it no energy, though, I mean, the game plan I didn't understand. Why are you starting Kevin Huerter on Cam Thomas? That was very weird to me when you have De'Aaron Fox and Keegan Murray, and it's not like either of them are on these super tough assignments. I mean, you can have Keegan Murray on Cam Johnson, and that's fine, but why is De'Aaron Fox on Zaire Williams instead of Cam Thomas? It's because of the length. That, no doubt that's what they'll say, but, I mean, obviously, that didn't work out very well, did it? And that's what started everything. It was, Kevin Huerter starting on Cam Thomas, which just was bad from the start. Let Cam Thomas find his rhythm, which makes the Kings have to pay way more attention to Cam Thomas, which makes them pay less attention to other shooters. That, along with just sloppiness offensively. I don't know what's happened to this team offensively. Because even earlier in the season, when there was zero bench production, when there was zero three-point shooting, this team was still a top-tier offense. And now, 103 points, 15 points in the fourth quarter. Come on. And it was just sloppiness. In the first half, it was De'Aaron Fox, De'Aaron Fox, De'Aaron Fox. And then guess what? When Fox couldn't do it all by himself in the second half, there just wasn't enough. And there wasn't enough guys to step up. Sure, in the third quarter, DeMar, Sabonis, Keegan Murray, they got going. But in the fourth quarter, obviously, there was not enough. Because it was De'Aaron Fox versus Cam Thomas early, and that could be very fun. And both teams were shooting the lights out, and yet the Kings still were down by quite a bit because they let the Nets get some offensive rebounds. They turned the ball over. They were just losing the possession battle. The closeouts were just sad. The rotations, the closeouts. No one was near any three-point shooters. Not because they couldn't be, but because, I don't know, is it the game plan to not start out the game contesting hard and running three-point shooters off the line? I understand if the game plan isn't to run Noah Clowney off the line. When he goes, what did he go? Like 5 for 8 from 3. It's like, yeah, okay, unlucky. But is it unlucky, or is it because the rest of the team was knocking down and so everyone was kind of feeling it? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But just the way the Kings weren't running the Nets off the three-point line early let them get so much confidence. And this is what we've seen time after time after time. And so when you combine that with having like Kevin Huerter on Cam Thomas, having, when the bench comes in, Trey Lyles having to guard Cam Johnson, those aren't necessarily lineups that you should have to live with. But with our roster, sometimes that's going to happen. Sometimes there are going to be matchups that you don't want. But when you combine those matchups that you don't want with guys just not giving the energy defensively, or if it is the game plan, then the game plan just being bad defensively, then you're screwed. And I thought in the first quarter, when it wasn't Fox, when he went out, the offense just got way too stagnant. And sometimes it can be okay if DeMar is going to do something. But if DeMar is just going to chill on the perimeter and not attack and not try to get to his spots, then we can't have that stagnant offense. And that's kind of what happened. DeMar either needed to attack or the Kings needed to start running a lot more motion offensively. And DeMar wasn't having the greatest of games early on, nor did he have the greatest of games really at any point. Better in the third quarter, but still not a great game. Sabonis wasn't scoring. Keegan hit his first three, then couldn't hit like three straight open ones. One time we saw Keegan get the ball in the post against Cam Thomas. Seemed like a play the Kings drew up. And guess what? Keegan went and drew a foul. And that was beautiful. And then we didn't see it again. Even though there was a play where Keegan had Shake Milton on him in the mid post, he could have gone at him and didn't. And so that was very disappointing. That was the only time that we saw Keegan go at a smaller defender. And when Keegan catches the ball in those mid-post areas against smaller defenders, he just backs it out almost to the half-court line, which is really frustrating because even if you aren't going to do anything with the ball, don't back it out that far. You're just giving up so much space. But the bench came in, they were awful. We saw Colby Jones. He wasn't awful. Like, he came in, sure, he got blown by Cam Thomas. And that's kind of what I'm worried about with him defensively, is staying in front of guys. But the recovery for a block, that was amazing. That led to a fast break where DeMar finds Keon in the corner for a three. That was a great play. Colby also had some other good plays, and he was staying in front of guys defensively. He was making the energy plays. He forced a big offensive rebound at one point. He also was a little wild in other ways. But, things that you can live with a guy hustling and being a young player. And so that was a bright spot off the bench. Another bright spot off the bench was Keon Ellis being the only guy to actually try to run three-point shooters off the line. He was the only guy doing it in the first half, I thought. Maybe I missed somebody else doing it, but it seemed like Keon Ellis was the only guy flying out there. And he also hit his first three threes, which also happened to be the only 9 bench points in this entire game, because the rest of the guys off the bench were kind of a disaster. And the fact that, there were only 2 other guys. It was Trey Lyles and Doug McDermott. Doug McDermott came in for 4 minutes at the end of the first quarter, and I tweeted this. I think we're past the Doug McDermott honeymoon phase on the defensive end, because earlier in this season he came in and sure, he wasn't shooting the ball the best, and he wasn't, scoring the ball a lot, which is mainly why you have him out there. But it was surprising because he could actually stay on the floor because of his defense. Yeah, I think we're past that point, because he had a bad, just lazy closeout on Cam Thomas after Keon ran him off the line exactly how we want, forced Cam Thomas into the mid-range, and then Doug with just a dumb foul. And that's not the first time he's done that in the past, I think 2 games. Maybe it was 2 games ago, not last game. I think it was last game where he had a similar play. And then there were multiple times where he didn't know who he was picking up defensively, and he was just getting blown by. So that's why he only played 4 minutes in this one. Not that we should necessarily be expecting more from him, because we really shouldn't. And then you have Trey Lyles, who does not look confident. He went 0 for 2 from the free throw line. He only shot 1 3, which is not like Trey Lyles. And he was open at times and could have let them fly. And the Kings only attempted 25 threes in this game. That's just not enough. They need to take more. Trey Lyles is a part of that. Kevin Huerter is a part of that. Those are the main 2 guys. Keon Ellis is a big part of that as well, but he actually let them fly and hit 3 out of 4. It was just like in the first half, defensive possessions were breaking down after the first screen. And you could tell by the amount of space the Nets generated off of their first screen that it was just already, the defensive possession was pretty much over, and it was resulting in a good shot. Don't know where that shot was going to come from all the time, but you could tell the Kings defense was not in a good spot defensively even after 1 screen. Lyles was awful defensively in the first half, and then just Fox being the only guy that could score. Kings got down 19. That's when Colby got fouled, and they didn't call it, on Ben Simmons. It should have been a foul. It wasn't the most egregious thing I've ever seen, but it should have been called a foul. But then Mike Brown goes crazy, tries to get ejected, and fails. So that was sad for Mike Brown. He had to sit there for the rest of the game and watch. I don't know how they didn't throw him out. He definitely tried to get thrown out. But the ref, he was nice. He only gave him one technical. He was obviously trying to fire up the team. It was kind of funny because they showed earlier in the game Mike Brown screaming at a ref getting ejected in that game in Toronto a couple of years ago, where Jordi Fernandez then got his first win as coach of the team in a very similar scenario where he's just trying to fire up the team. Same thing here, and the Kings did respond, and they gained 11 points from that point to the end of the second quarter. So they were only down 8. Sabonis finally scored towards the end of that second quarter. Herter finally hit a 3. Keegan still couldn't hit a 3, but got to the rim a few times, got a steal. Was looking a little shifty out there, which is what we want to see. Sabonis got called for a couple of soft fouls in that first half, trying to rebound the basketball, which really pissed me off because they weren't allowing him to go for rebounds. So it could have been even better close to that second quarter. But I wouldn't say I was happy with where we were at. I think if the circumstances around this game were different, if the Kings weren't on a losing streak, if they weren't at 500, then maybe I'd be happy with only being down 8 because I would be like, yeah, good response. But the problem is we've seen that too many times where the Kings get down big against teams like the Nets and then have to respond like that. And then we know they don't always finish the job. In fact, most of the times they don't finish the job, just like this game. I just wish that this team had the ability that when they do come all the way back, when they do gain a 2-possession lead in the fourth quarter, that we could be like, they're gonna win this game. They're not gonna give this lead up because we've gotten to the fourth quarter. We're late in the fourth quarter. They're against a subpar team. Now this should be an unlosable game. But so many times, not just this season, we were hoping it would change this season. It hasn't. But last season we saw it a lot. I remember one specific game against the Detroit Pistons where the Kings came all the way back in the third quarter. Sabonis hit a big buzzer-beating corner 3 to tie or take the lead, something like that. Massive momentum, and then the Kings fall apart in the fourth quarter and don't win it. And I feel like we've seen that type of thing so many times where it's like you come all the way back against bad teams and then they just can't close it out. I don't think they necessarily started the third quarter all that great, but they did get some misses. DeMar was trying to get it going and it just really wasn't happening. But then we got that big Sabonis 3. That cut it to 7. That forced a timeout. And from that point on, I felt like the Kings played a lot better defensively. They were running the 3-point shooters off the line. And really what that forced the Nets to do is take more mid-rangers. And then what the Kings were doing on those mid-rangers is help defenders were coming in. They were blocking shots. They were altering shots. So that's really what forcing shooters off the line does, is it forces them into more defenders. And the Kings were doing that well. Trey Lyles had a couple of blocks doing that. I think Kevin Herter probably had one. Then DeMar started to get going, got an and one. He got to the line a few times. And the Kings were able to come back, and it wasn't through good 3-point shooting or anything, although I wish it was. But Keegan hit that fadeaway to tie the game. And unfortunately, then the Kings did go up 3, and then there was that unfortunate play at the end of the first half where Keegan dribbles it out with 0.8 seconds. And Noah Clowney hits the fadeaway to tie it. So obviously not, that was a sucky way to kind of have the momentum going into the fourth quarter, but still the Kings, you would think a tie game going into the fourth quarter in this situation, they should be fine, right? You had Herter playing some great defense on Cam Johnson, forcing a shot clock violation. He did a pretty good job staying in front of guys, although admittedly not the greatest offensive players that he was guarding. He wasn't staying in front of Cam Thomas. He was staying in front of Cam Johnson. Not exactly the same thing. But it was great. Fox had some defensive plays. He was also getting inside. Keegan Murray was attacking the rim, trying to get dunks. Kings couldn't hit free throws, though. And the Kings went up 4. And then Fox dribbles the ball off his foot. And the Kings offense just gets sloppy. Fox goes out of the game. And it's a Nets 9-0 run in 2 minutes. And that's the part that really frustrated me, because that's kind of what I'm talking about. That's the Kings' inability to really just lock in and say we are winning this game now that we are up in the fourth quarter. You get up 2 possessions in the fourth quarter, and it's just an immediate 9-0 run from the Nets. And the Kings just couldn't convert offensively late in this game or at all in the fourth quarter. They had multiple offensive rebounds. He got into this game because of his rebounding. That's why he even had 13 points. He had 18 rebounds, 7 assists. Keegan was contributing on the offensive glass. Keon was contributing on the offensive glass. Like, guys were getting offensive rebounds. Kings couldn't convert. And there were just so many times where guys were open. They were passing up shots, but they also weren't driving hard to the rim. And it was so frustrating. And it just felt, the end of this game felt like the Kings were playing as if they were up or it was tied. There was no sense of urgency at all. Walking the ball up the court, the stars on this team not getting on the ball. I said it before, I'll say it again. Kevin Huerter being the guy on 2 key possessions to end up with a grenade in his hand, forced to create something. And it wasn't because the Nets locked down defensively. It was because the stars of this Kings team didn't try. They didn't go get the ball. They didn't try to get downhill. I feel like Fox in this one was just like, I felt like he kind of said, I did my thing in the first half. I'll chip in here and there in the second half. But he was like, I need someone to help me. And the main guy was DeMar. And he was just like, please take some of this load off my shoulders. And DeMar really didn't deliver in this game. Because I can't blame Fox for that. Like, sure, I wish he would have been the guy on the ball late in that game, but after what he's done over this stretch, after him scoring 31 points, being the only offense in the first half, he needs some help. It just feels like right now the Kings kind of lack guys that are going to just catch the ball. They lack the role players that are going to catch the ball on the perimeter and then just attack the rim, and whatever happens, happens. It doesn't feel like Kevin Huerter is going to catch the ball and attack the rim. It took a lot for him to finally get into some of those drives. Keegan did it more in this game, which is what we want to see, but outside of that, I would just love to see, if guys aren't going to shoot the ball, I would love to see more of guys just catching the ball and putting their heads down going to the rim. Because when you look at the guys off the bench, it's Trey Lyles. He hasn't done that very much this season. Doug McDermott's not doing that. Colby, we haven't really seen enough of him. But he does get downhill more than other guys because he lacks confidence in his three-point shot. Let's be honest. He doesn't have the greatest three-point shot. So at least he's doing it. Keon did it a little bit. But it just feels like when the play breaks down, when there's nothing there, there's just so few guys. And really, it's only Fox that's going to catch the ball with 5 seconds on the shot clock and just drive the ball to the basket. I think there are just too many possessions for this team throughout a game where there's hesitation, where it feels like only certain guys are allowed to drive the ball. And obviously, that's not the case. The coaching staff isn't saying, Kevin Huerter, you cannot drive the ball. Like, they would love if he is aggressive and drives the ball. Same with Keegan Murray, of course, and everyone else. I just think that this team offensively is lacking decisiveness. There's a lot of hesitation, mainly around the perimeter. We can go through some individuals, even though I went through a good amount of them. Sabonis, 6 for 12 from the field, 13 points, 18 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 turnovers. He was definitely part of the sloppiness. DeMar was a good part of the sloppiness early on for the Kings in the first half. He was extremely frustrated by the officiating inside, felt like he wasn't allowed to do anything. And I do agree with him. There were some pretty ridiculous calls on him, just not being able to go up for a rebound just like everyone else does during a game. But Sabonis is at his best when he's not be the one that's forced to post up, and he had to do that a few times in the first half, and he turned the ball over because of it. He had misses because of it. He's the best when other guys are driving towards the rim. That pulls his defender away, and he gets on that offensive glass, or he catches that drop-off pass. He had some really nice passes when the Nets did double team him, but he just had a very frustrating game. It was also a frustrating game for DeMar where He went 7 for 18, wasn't efficient. Also missed a couple free throws. Had some really nice passes. His passing was better than his scoring in this one. Again, the turnovers. I felt like he missed some easy shots that he usually hits in the first half, and then the second half felt like he wasn't really getting to his spots all that much, especially in the fourth quarter. Keegan had a solid game. 7 for 14, 21 points. That's what we want to see from him. 8 rebounds. 1 for 5 from 3. That still has not come around. But he was attacking. He hit some mid-rangers. He went behind the back going to the rim at one point. He just looked aggressive. He looked like he was moving fast and he was playing like a guard almost. Like when Keegan is at his best, he looks smaller. He looks smaller, he looks quicker, he looks slimmer. I don't know how to describe it because obviously he's not. You know, he hasn't slimmed down for this game. But when he's playing well, when he's getting kind of shifty and he's getting into the lane, he looks smaller when he does that. I don't know if anyone else sees that. For some reason, when he plays well, he just looks smaller to me. And so it was a good game for him, and he was good defensively. Obviously, same with Fox. 10 for 16 from the field, 8 for 12 from the free throw line, 3 for 4 from 3. 31 points, only 2 turnovers with 5 assists. And he's still just looking so elite. He's attacking the rim. His change of speeds look incredible. The way he's able to use his body to fend off defenders and get easy looks inside has been incredible. He just needs some help. Kevin Huerter, awful defensively in the first half. Don't know why he was put on Cam Thomas. Again, struggling from 3. At least he made his free throws. And he also made all of his shots inside the arc. And I thought he was going to miss some of those layups that he took. They weren't the easiest layups. And so, you know, a credit to him for that, but, you know, also credit to him for being better defensively in the second half. He had 11 points, but I'm still out on him in the starting lineup for now. And then I already went through the bench. Trey Lyles, not a good game for him defensively in the first half, especially. Didn't get shots up. Doug McDermott didn't get any shots up, was bad defensively. Colby, kind of a mixed bag, but we will take that from him because he's coming in with the energy. And then Keon, he had a good game. He was out there defending. Felt like the only guy that was defending in the first half. And then he was knocking down his threes, and he was making hustle plays. The only big positive off the bench. But yeah, the Kings just, they're looking real bad. I don't know if it's like Malik Monk's going to come back and save this team. He might be back tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe he will. But, I don't know. I doubt that. It does seem like this team needs to be fully healthy to really function, which is not a good thing. And it's just like every game, you look at the other team's bench. Keon Johnson, 6 points. Shake Milton, 10 points. I was like, that guy's still in the league? Noah Clowney, 18 points. Jalen Wilson, shout out Jalen Wilson, 7 points. Trendon Watford, only 3 points. Hey man, I thought Trendon Watford was going to kill us coming into this game. I mean, you look at their starting lineup, 4 points for Ben Simmons. It's really funny watching Ben Simmons play and just not look to score at all, even though it seems like he should have the ability to when he's in the open court especially. Nick Claxton, 4 points. Zaire Williams, 6 points. Like, those were their starters. And Cam Johnson only had 16. That's not even a lot for Cam Johnson at this point with how hot he's been. And they're still able to come away with the win because they actually get production from their bench. How has the Kings bench gotten to this point? It's really wild. I don't know what to say at this point. I don't know whether I should say that the Kings could turn it around tomorrow against OKC and then go on a big winning streak. Like, I want to say that, but I don't believe it, And I try to have, and I usually do, I don't just try, like I do have positive outlooks on things for this team usually. Like I truly believe it, but I don't at this point. Because lately, this team has given me no reason to believe in them. And now they play OKC at home on the second night of a back-to-back. One of the best teams in the league. Sure, they don't have Chet, but they're still one of the best teams in the league. I'm not looking forward to watching Shea get Keon and Fox in foul trouble early in this game. That's something we need to try to avoid at all costs. And they do have Hartenstein back, but if he's not out on the court, you can take advantage of them inside. They are a small team. They're going to look for steals. The Kings cannot play the same sloppy way they did against Brooklyn. I mean, if you lose to Brooklyn playing sloppy, you're definitely going to lose to OKC if you are sloppy with the ball at all. Anyways, that is it for this episode of the Roll Report. As always, shout out to the members of this channel, No Rain and Joe Mama, and I will see you guys tomorrow to recap the game against OKC.